Today we are taking a walk. It's a beautiful fall day, and I thought I'd bring you guys along so that we can talk about some of the wild edible and medicinal plants growing this time of year. We're going to start off with talking about the black walnut. Black walnut is a native walnut to North America. It has a very delicious nut meat inside, and covering the nut shell is a hull. And these black walnut hulls are actually highly medicinal. And black walnut hulls are one of the best remedies when they are combined with wormwood and cloves for cleansing parasites out of the digestive tract. The first tincture that I ever made was with black walnut hulls, and it's a great one to have around because if you need to do a parasite cleanse or if you just want to cleanse out the digestive tract, whether you know you have parasites or not. Now, black walnut is a very potent medicinal herb, and it's not suggested to be used for long-term use. This hull here is just loaded with tannins, and it also contains the compound juglone. Now, juglone is a compound found throughout the whole black walnut tree, and it's mostly concentrated in the roots. Black walnut is known as an allelopathic tree, which means that this compound within the roots leaches out into the soil, and it inhibits the growth of a lot of other plants around it. Now, some plants are tolerant of this allelopathic effect that black walnut has. So, like I said before, there's lots of tannins, and there is some of that juglone in the hull. So that's why it's probably best only used for the short term. Most people won't use the hull. They'll just remove the hull and then go for those delicious nuts, which are of course full of beneficial fatty acids, and they are just tasty. They're really good. So I am going to today just collect some of the green hulls to be making into medicine, and then I'll come back out here later in the week once more I've fallen off of the tree and harvest them for the nuts. So real quick, a little bit more about this. When the black walnut falls from the tree, the hull around it will start to turn black, hence the name black walnut. So it's best for medicine making to get them when they're green, and make sure that when you're removing the hulls to use them for medicine or for food, that you wear gloves because it stains your skin, and the stains will last up to 2 weeks. Okay, so now that we talked a little bit about black walnut, we are going to talk a little bit about the shagbark hickory. So shagbark hickory is also another native nut tree to North America, and the word hickory actually comes from an Algonquin word, Pacohicora. I hope I said that right. But this was a word used for a porridge that Native Americans would use the hickory nuts in, and the word was also used for many different species within the hickory nut genus. There are many other edible hickories, but shagbark, which we have right here, and shellbark hickory are some of the tastiest, and of course pecans too. Shagbark hickory is a beautiful tree, and one key identifying feature for shagbark hickory is that the bark has a shaggy appearance to it, looking like it's kind of like flaking off from the tree. Now, we're not going to go too much into identification for these plants today. I kind of just wanted to spotlight them for you and make sure that the video doesn't end up being too long. So here are the hickory nuts that have fallen from the tree. So when the hickory nuts fall from the tree, the hull just kind of cracks away really easily into 4 separate segments. And then underneath you have the nutshell, and within the nutshell is the very delicious nut meat.
Mommy, I got some hickory nuts.
Ooh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Can you show us how they open up? Whoa. So my daughter went to hand me another handful of hickory nuts, And look out for these, because that means a worm went in there and ate it, so it won't be good to eat. And of course, with the hickory and black walnut, once you have taken the hulls off and cracked the nut shells, the nut inside is ready to eat fresh, or you can take these nuts still in the shells, cure them, and they will last for years to come if they're cured correctly. So right now we are entering into a thicket of spice bush. And spice bush is a very nice spice. And all parts of this plant can be used for spice. The leaves and twigs in the springtime, the flowers in the springtime, and right now they produce a red edible berry. So these are the spice berries, and I will be harvesting some of them today. I will be sparing because this is a native plant and I don't want to overdo it, but we are in a very large thicket with an abundance of spice berry. So you might come across some plants that do have berries on them and some that do not, and this is because there is a male and a female plant for spice bush. And obviously the female will produce the berries.
How about we be behind the tree?
So another thing about using these berries is that they are very high in fats, so they don't preserve very well. So usually what people will do is they will dry out the berries and then put them in their freezer to be used as a spice. There is only one persimmon left on the tree. Ah! So I have just an awesome family, and they are going to try to pick that last persimmon for me. I actually saw a few raccoon droppings up the road and saw a lot of persimmon seeds, so they have definitely gotten to them first. So persimmon is another native fruit to North America, and it was used by Native Americans as a food source, and they would often make it into a pudding. And I was reading in the Philadelphia Inquirer, it was a very interesting article that persimmon, and it's ripe. I've been waiting for this for so long. It's not astringent anymore.
I made that.
Would you like to try a piece of this? Because you worked so hard for it. It's like mushy and gushy, but it's delicious. It looks like it's rotting, but that's how they look when they're ripe.
Okay,
You can try just a little bite.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually good, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to actually save some of these seeds and come back maybe tomorrow and pick some of the fallen fruit. There's more persimmon trees in the back with some fruit still on them. So hopefully I can get to some more fruit, save the seeds, and plant them out in one of our garden beds this winter. So we ran out of time for today, but tomorrow I am going to come back out here and we're going to talk about some more wild, edible, and medicinal plants growing in the autumn. So stay tuned for more. Hi, it's not the next day, it's actually the next week. But we're gonna finish our walk finally and talk about some of the wild edible fruits and berries that are growing this time of year, and it's getting really windy. I've been snacking on these wild grapes for the past month or so, and of course they start off super tart, and as the season goes on and the weather cools down, their flavor drastically improves. So I wanted to bring you guys out into this beautiful spot in the forest where there is some spice berries growing over here, and then we have tons of the Japanese multiflora rose hips. Now, of course, these are so invasive around here, but they produce masses of these tiny little rose hips that can be used for all sorts of things, for jams, jellies, different types of herbal remedies and medicines. And of course, they just make a really beautiful fall and winter decoration. If you live in an area where this is just taking over and you like to take walks or hikes often, you probably know this plant. I have multiflora rose in my leg. They are just loaded with different vitamins and antioxidants. The last video I did was on rose hips, so I will put a link in the description below because it was just jam-packed with a bunch of different information on rose hips. And alas, we have the autumn olive or autumn berry. I recently did a really short video on this one, and I wanted to talk a little bit more about it today. So a lot of people really dislike autumn olive because of its invasive nature here in the Northeast. But this is a guilt-free wild edible that you can go ahead and just pick tons of berries from, and I love them. I think they're really tasty. As the season goes on, they definitely get sweeter. Autumn olive berries are also just loaded with vitamins and antioxidants, and they contain the carotenoid lycopene, and it was found that they can contain up to 17 times more lycopene than tomatoes, and that's a very awesome antioxidant carotenoid that has multiple health benefits. So even though it's so invasive, it has very healthful berries that you can pick guilt-free because you're helping to stop the spread in a way. And it's not all that bad because autumn olive is a nitrogen fixer, so it does bring back some nitrogen into the soil, probably benefiting the forest in some sort of way. Love these. Multiflora rose, multiflora rose, multiflora rose. So I am going to take a little break here and finish my grapes. Thought it was worth mentioning that wild grapes have some poisonous lookalikes. So as always, when you are foraging wild foods, make sure you have a 100% positive identification. It's so important because it's your safety, it's your life. Make sure you are spot on. I hope that all of you watching this have a chance to get out into the forest sometime soon and just enjoy it and relax, and maybe bring a plant identification book with you and just look around and see if you can identify anything, and of course be safe. And now we are going to find more persimmons. The tree that we were at last week, I got the last persimmon. I was very honored. Thank you, persimmon tree, and thank you, lovely family, for picking it for me. So I saw a few other trees behind it where there was still fruit on the tree, and it looks like a lot has fallen, so I'm hoping that I'll be able to forage a little bit of that. And I'm really excited to get it, mostly for its seed, because I plan on planting out a bunch of these persimmon seeds out in the garden and hopefully getting some persimmon saplings that we can plant out in the field. Alright, so I am out of the forest on my way back home, and we're gonna go check out that persimmon situation. I almost passed right by it, but here is the persimmon tree that I was lucky enough to have the last fruit from. So let's dive in here and get all thorny and tick infested, alright? Yeah. So, came out into a bit of a clearing and I don't see any fallen fruit, but I do see the tree and there's a lot of them way at the tippy top. There's no way I'm getting up there. I wonder if this tree is shakeable at all. It is! Fruit, come to me! No persimmons today, I guess. So you're gonna catch the persimmons as they fall in this pot, right?
Right.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you. Got it? You can just step through, okay? There's no thorns here, but then there's some multiflora rose. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Alright, let's see if we can do this. If you don't catch it, that's okay. We'll find it on the ground. Oh my gosh! Do you see it?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. Grab it and put it in your little bucket. Oh, yeah, sorry.
It's mushy. And
It's mushy and gushy, and it looks like it's rotting, but that means it's right. If I can try to film this again. I don't know if I can reach. I actually just caught these as they fell from the tree, and I have a witness. That happened, didn't it?
Mm-hmm. I see it. I found it.
Awesome. Let's see. Whoa. It was a job well done, and now we'll have a few seeds to plant out, and that's exciting. So besides just nibbling on some delicious, nutrient-dense wild foods, I was able to collect seeds to plant out in the garden. It is a big goal of mine to have a food forest with many native fruit and nut trees as a canopy layer, and I'm very excited to see how the germination goes with these. Hopefully we will have some of these wonderful trees to plant out in a future food forest. Thank you guys so much for watching today's video and sticking with me until the end.